So the topic of today's video is head swaps and how beneficial they can be for switching up figures on the shelf, adding some variety, and allowing you to just have a collection that stands out and make it a little bit different than your friend's shelf. So here we have two standard Marvel Legends. We have standard Wolverine here, and we have Beast. And as you can see, I've made a couple changes here. Both of these heads are actually from prior Toy Biz versions of these characters. I also have a third Wolverine with the same deal. These heads came on Toy Biz bodies. So simply what I did was take them off and fit them. Some of them fit easier than others. I will admit these weren't simple pop and swaps. For example, let's take Beast here. You can see that I already tried altering the head by trying to add some pupils, which I think helped, but it didn't do the job. It still had his mouth open. I wanted something calmer. And when I found this Beast's head, I said, wow, that's, if I could put that on this body, total win, right? So this head, the neck peg was a lot smaller, it was a lot thinner, so I did have to go in and Dremel this head. I am planning a head swap mod video, so that may come in the future, but for now I'm just really showcasing what different heads can do to a whole figure. I also did a wash on this Beast to bring out a lot more of his fur. So we have this one, and then we have the standard head. Standard head still works just fine. I'd switch this in and out if I can. If I got that new retro carded one that just came out, I'll have a third head to work with. So there's Beast. This Wolverine was the same thing. I believe these heads were from the X-Men Classics line. I believe they were called that. It was probably around 2005, 2006-ish, just when Toy Biz was losing the license and Hasbro was gaining the license. I feel like we had a real golden era there of Toy Biz head sculpts that just really hold up till this day. This Wolverine looks like he's jumping right out of the comic book page. This head sculpt might be a little thinner than it should be, but I like it a lot better than these style. Whoever's been sculpting these is a talented sculptor, but they make fish eyes. I don't know why his eyes are so far apart. I don't know. So I definitely like to just sub in my own. And this head was a funny Wolverine. He had like a black and white jacket on. I think he came with like a jetpack or something. It was a really wild Wolverine figure, but I did like the head sculpt. Figure it's pretty good for like a civilian Logan or an unmasked Logan. No, obviously unmasked. So you can swap these out to change up the shelf. You can go for a more edgy look, or you could just go for being silly. This was Deadpool's first head. I got real funky on his second head. I also have here a Fortnite RPG. But yeah, I want to do something really funky with Deadpool. And I happen to have a bunch of retro turtles laying around. And I'm not going to lie, as soon as I put that Raphael body next to a Deadpool body on accident, just throwing them on my bed together, I said, wow, that was meant to be. I really happen to like it too, because it looks like he's kind of wincing his one eye to get like a good look before he shoots the RPG. So these have been some 6-inch examples, but I want to show off that this works just as well on 7-inch action figures as well. He-Man. I feel like Mattel knows that we adult collectors like to pop and swap, and we like to mess around with things, because they made their Masters of the Universe Origins line. It's the same exact size neck peg as their Masters of the Universe Revelations line. So if you're collecting both of these lines, you could very easily pop and swap the heads. They are pretty much the exact same diameter. So this is what's called a pop and swap, because there's not even any heating necessary to get this done. You could just simply pop it and swap it. Now, as you can see with the He-Man, the skin tones aren't perfect, but when it's this far apart on a shelf, you can't really see. Now, another entry, and one that goes another level in, is my custom Skeletor here, who's got a few different pieces. He doesn't just have the Skelegod head, but he also has the claw. It turns out that, once again with Mattel, they're making a lot of their figures with the same diameters and whatnot, so you're able to interchange fists from different figures, and heads, staffs, all kinds of accessories. I have a lot of fun with the Skeletor. I definitely felt like these bodies were great new additions, but I was not that big of a fan of both of these heads. This He-Man just looks like a giant baby, and this Skeletor, well, Skeletor doesn't look terrible, but he doesn't really look intimidating either like this. Last but not least for Skeletor, I do have a custom-made head. Which ironically did not come from a 7-inch action figure. I created this head from different Marvel Legends. That skull inside is actually from the Dormammu Build-A-Figure. He had those 2 green skull accessories that he could hold. So that's actually one of those painted. And then I believe this is a Hobgoblin hood. So I had to take the Hobgoblin head out and then shove this skeleton head in. And I think I had to, I don't remember if I had to Dremel a little bit for this, but this is definitely probably my favorite custom head sculpt I've ever done. So, moving licenses, but staying within the 7-inch realm, this works just as good on DC superhero figures too. I've been playing around with Aquaman for a little bit. This head sculpt is interesting. It does look a bit like Momoa, but not very flattering. I don't know what's the deal with this gigantic 5 head they gave him. I like his demeanor, and the print's good, but the sculpt needs work. So, I also noticed that they were making a Jason Momoa head for the Dune movie, and that's what this is. So this is the Duncan Idaho head sculpt. And this one, although not necessarily from Aquaman, still looks enough like Momoa that I'll swap it in and out. I also like the look of the Endless Winter Aquaman head on the armor body, which is of course from the movie Justice League figure. You can also do this. I don't have any examples here, but I mean, don't be shy when it comes to wrestling figures. You could put a John Cena head on a Peacemaker body. You could use any of those Rock wrestling action figure heads and pop those on a Black Adam body probably. That may be something I try to do when those figures come out, which should be any day now. Last but not least, we have the flagship of my channel here. We have another simple pop and swap, but this time I feel like it was made for it. So this is a DC Multiverse Green Lantern John Stewart head. And I can't think of a more perfect head for Al Simmons. For anybody that knows, not only does the skin tone match perfectly, he's got green eyes because he's a Green Lantern, which looks just like the necroplasm running through Spawn's veins. And I just threw, I think this weapon here comes from Raven Spawn. So, all in all, I think you could get a lot more life out of your action figures, or just make them pop a bit more on the shelf if you just play around with them a little more. Sometimes it takes a little elbow grease, takes a Dremel, sometimes hot glue to get things to work, but after it's all said and done, I kind of feel like it's worth it. And that's pretty much all there is. If you got any questions, feel free to dump them in the comments section. I hope you guys have a great day, and thanks for watching the video.